So I did real estate full-time for probably like the first 7 years of my career when I started my firm. And we were flipping a lot of houses, we're developing a lot of real estate projects, different asset classes. It was pretty cool. And one thing that I always thought about when the foreclosure market or the distressed market and that crisis all kind of faded away and the market really improved was I always kind of played this what if game with myself of, man, what if I would have held on to all those houses or all those buildings or all that land? It'd be worth like 5 times what it is today or 10 times what I sold it for back then. And it's interesting because I play that game with myself, and I read this quote and it said, those that live by the crystal ball will always get glass in their face. And I really like that quote because it instilled in me very, very prominently that if we win, if we have good deals and we take them and we move on, that we're always winning, we're always getting ahead. And if we try to live by this crystal ball and try to time everything perfect, which nobody can, it's going to hurt us. One of Warren Buffett's biggest things that he preaches in terms of philosophy of investing is mitigating your losses. So if you can mitigate those losses and just always have wins, you're going to come out ahead. It's the bird in the hand versus 2 in the bush. And this was really, really driven home to me when I read an interview that talked about generational wealth. So one of my favorite stories about this was that there was an interviewer and he had looked at the data on throughout the world, all over different countries, there was only so many like real empires that were built over multiple generations, and specifically 3 generations or more. However, one of the anomalies, because it's very common for generational wealth or empires to essentially diminish returns or at least growth by the 3rd generation. This is understandable simply because typically if you're self-made, maybe the grandpa, whoever it is, he was really driven, resourceful, came from nothing, he built a business, super ambitious. He passed it on to his son, but he was the one raising that kid. And that kid probably carried a lot of the traits that he did and ran the business similar. So maybe there's some growth into the 2nd generation. However, by the 3rd generation, that kid, we're talking about empire money, like massive, massive wealth. That kid's a trust fund kid, has been since the day he was born. His life was probably a lot easier. So just by chance, he's probably not going to have the same ambition and resourcefulness and everything else that grandpa had, right? So the data shows that most of these generationally wealthy families, by that 3rd generation, wealth is starting to diminish, or at least the rate of growth is trailing very quickly. There's a couple anomalies to that. One of them is the Rockefeller family. And in this specific interview, this person asked, I believe it was like the 4th generation Rockefeller heir, they said, hey, this is what we've looked at in terms of data, and you're one of the only families that's really been able to kick this trend of not growing your wealth substantially or like exponentially by the 3rd and 4th generation. And is there anything specific that you've learned or that you know of throughout your family history that's been able to help you guys kick this trend? And the way that he answered was so poignant to me, and it's like when you hear it the first time, you're not going to get it, but once you process it, it's going to hit. His answer to that question, the question I'll pose again was, is there anything you guys have done differently to kick this trend? And the Rockefeller heir, he said, yes, my father taught me, and his father taught him, and his father taught him, that we've always won by selling too early. And I love that. I love it because the cool thing that I've learned is that the deal of a lifetime happens every single week. So if you got an opportunity to sell into the yield curve or the upswing here and take a win and take that money and go into the next deal of a lifetime that next week and also sell into the up curve a little too early, leaving a little meat on the bone, it's okay because you do that over and over and over again. You're mitigating your losses, you're winning every time, and you're always selling too early. That's how you win.